Live, going live. I'm live now. Hello. Today is Thursday, what is it? April 9th, 2026. And it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to try and make this quick. I totally forgot to read the few pages from the Constitution last night. And also, I forgot to ask, how were you blessed today? So, yesterday, I was blessed by, well, just having a roof over my head, food on my table, clothes on my back, roof over my head, good neighbors. Um, Now I'm trying to remember what I did. That I was able to do a live last night, which I liked. I was comfortable doing. I did put him on my rocker, so it's a glider, so that's why I'm moving. Um, I was I've been blessed so much in my life. So hopefully you have. It's not. I think we're all blessed. It's a matter of if you recognize that you're blessed. And the older, I've always recognized my blessings. I might not have. I don't want to say appreciated them, but I was always bogged down by all the other noise around me. So the older I get, the more I like really am truly, and I always like profoundly blessed. So um, today I'm blessed for the location that I live at. Um, I'm blessed for Cassie. Today she had a little bit of a nerve wracking day because they were redoing the apartment next door, so that it sounded like they were knocking on our door. I mean, they were just reinstalling, putting in new carpeting and all the typical noise. And she just kept thinking somebody was knocking at our door. So thankfully, I restarted her anxiety medication. So I mean, of course, she lost it, but she wasn't as bad as she would have been if she wasn't on her medication. And the medication she takes, they say it's for sedation, but I'm telling you, this dog was on a high dose at one point of this medication, and it would have knocked me on my feet. She's not a zombie dog on it. She her anxiety, it takes the edge off of her anxiety, so she can be comfortable. So our car ride today was great. Handling the people working next door. She carried on a bit here and there, and it was right in the middle of a yeah, Google Meet I was having. But I tell you what, that was the first time I believe I've ever used Google Meet, because I've always used Skype, FaceTime, um, or Messenger or whatever, and Zoom. Um, and you put the noise cancellation on, but people can still hear the background noise. Well, I have to say that Google Meet uh, background noise feature tool was great, because she doesn't bark, Cassie. She screams. It's so high pitched, and she was right here barking, and then they were right there banging away, and the person on the other end couldn't hear it. She said, "I hear a little bit, but I don't really hear it." And she doesn't have a slow. She doesn't have a soft bark. She screams. But anyway, it's getting a little warm in here. Let's see. I did turn. Let's see. What else? Kick this off here. But yeah, so the feature on that Google Meet, I don't know why I just never trusted it. I don't know why. Um, so and actually I thought they got rid of it. Oh, maybe it was called Google Chat or whatever. But anyway, it was a nice. That was a nice feature, and it has all the bells and whistles. You could do your background if you wanted to, um, appearance, all that other stuff, all the things. But anyway, so it was interesting. But trying to think, what did I do yesterday? Oh, my book club. So I'm blessed that I eased into this new community pretty quickly, and part of the reason is because I actually worked in this community when I first moved back up north, and so it wasn't that difficult to kind of acclimate to it because I was very familiar with it. So yesterday I felt very blessed. Um, I went to my Nomad book club, and that was fun, and found out about some interesting books. And then also, they always have a bookshelf there because it was held at the library this time. They always have a bookshelf there where they give away free books, and the college I was going to, they did that as well. So I always got a lot of free books, which I love to get free books. But I got this book, and I didn't really have time to look because we were locking up, and so I had to leave. But I saw this, and I just grabbed it off the shelf, and it looked like they had a bunch of good books on there. But and I was going to go back today, but then I forgot. I had to go out and get some stuff for Cassie, and I just didn't have time. What else did I get? Oh, and candy for my. I always put out little plates of candy. We have we each every all the floors are decorated. Um, we're allowed to decorate our doors, and with me, with my door, um, I have my real eucalyptus live wreath, and then I decorate that, and I have my lights on it, my purple lights, and I painted. Well, not painted. I drew with the wet erase markers, um, and oh yeah, I did mix up some paint, but water-based paint. And so I made um, a scene of the ocean with palm trees and the rising sun, and I just put little captions on there and birds, and then I had some really clear and nice butterfly stickers. So I painted that whole scenery on my, or I drew the scenery on my door. It's pretty cool. Um, and I um, and then so each floor has its own theme, and it's like I've never lived in a building like this. Most of the high rise buildings, especially in New York, they're just kind of like drip drab. They're no personality. Everybody's too busy. They might have a little bit of a lobby or whatever. Not this. And then all the buildings out where I'm living too, same thing. Not this building. This building has out front. They have the um, raised flower beds. So now they're getting ready to zhuzh it up for the spring. So there's one, two, three, four big, huge raised flower beds. Very nice landscaping. Of course, we're right on the river. Um, and out back, there's a koi pond, and these kois are fish there, and they survived this winter, which was really cold, and that pond was frozen over, frozen solid. I'm like, they didn't make it. They didn't make it. They made it, and they got even bigger. Well, they did have some babies, and but I thought, well, maybe they ate the babies to survive. But somebody told me no, they somebody scooped the babies out and whatever, and put them in another pond. But they have it set up to where it has the water flowing like a waterfall. It's really beautiful. So they have a little koi pond out back that you can sit around, and benches all over, swings, a gazebo. Um, what was my point? Flower pots. Things are starting to bloom. They just put a brand new awning out back. Oh yeah, so each floor has its own personality. See, when I knew about this building because I worked in the area, and I actually got the got the lease on the office that we were working out of right here, and they still have it, and that was years ago, and they're still there, the people. But anyway, so I said, let me just check the building out. So I went. It's 16 floors, but really 15 floors because they don't have a 13th floor. And I went to the 16th floor, and then I just walked all the way down, walked through all the floors. And one of the maintenance guys was working on one of the apartments, on the 14th floor, and he let me kind of see what it looked like, the inside of the apartment and the view. And it was a front facing apartment. They do have apartments with balconies in it, but if you get the apartment with the balcony, it cuts into your space, so those apartments are extra small. And one set of balconies face the river, and the other set faces the city. And I was like, oh, maybe, hopefully, if I get in there, I get the balcony one. I'm so glad I didn't, because one, I need the space for my art studio that I'm going to set up. For two, I got the corner, so I got the best of both. Because the balcony, they kind of have it sealed off, so it's like the only way you can see out is if you're standing up and leaning over it, because it's not clear. It's white, like white fences, or um, it's not like iron bars or anything like that that you can see right through. It's closed off. So, and then it gets really windy here all the time. It's like the windy city here. So, uh, at one point, I'm gonna probably go to my friend Joe's apartment, because I want to see what it looks like, because I haven't been in one of them. But I'm thinking I got the best of both worlds. I'm on the corner. I have a view of the city and lights at night, and the cathedral, and the mountains, and it really looks like a Roman city. And then the other side is the river, and the bridges and mountains. It's just I really got the best, and I only have one neighbor, and he just left. So hopefully, I'm praying that he was very quiet, that we get a quiet neighbor. I mean, even if they're not quiet, these apartments are really well insulated. So, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But um, yeah, so I today, um, I'm just blessed with that. I have that. If I didn't have a car, and this is where it reminds me of Brooklyn, I don't need a car here. Everything's accessible, but it's not. You don't feel like you're in the city and everything's on top of you and stuff. Everything is accessible by walking, riding your bike, getting the little metro buses, of course Uber and stuff like that. But the metro buses, and for my age, I can ride them free. So uh, all the big box and all that stuff is across the river away. But in our area right here, we have our little artsy community. We have our little grocery bodega uh, type store. Um, everything's. My dentist is here. My eye doctor's. I can walk to it, which is I love it, because that's what I grew up doing in Brooklyn. You walked everywhere or rode your bike. I mean, you do your mass transit. You did take your buses, your trains, your car service. Um, but and you really didn't need a car. My mom didn't get a car. She didn't even get her driver's license until she was almost 40, and then she got a car, and she got a '63 Chevy, the tank. But oh well, I wouldn't say she was 40. She was in her 30s, I think. But still, I had an aunt and uncle who decided when they retired they would move to Florida. Um, and they were living in Queens at the time, and they lived there for most of their life. They moved from Brooklyn to Queens. Never had a driver's license. They didn't need it. They lived right by the train station, the buses. They walked everywhere, and they just thought they could just go to Florida, and it was just going to all be the same. Oh my God, what a poor. And now, I mean, now that so many people have moved to Florida, they changed the landscape of it. But at the time, they almost got killed because they were trying to walk across the highway to go to the grocery. It was insane. And I happened to be out in that area, so I was able to take them some places. And but I mean, they figured it out, but it was like a culture shock, and they were just like regretting it at first, but eventually they acclimated and they figured it all out, like we all do. But that was their dream. They wanted to move to Florida. And they moved to a retirement community, so it was busy. They had a lot of bus trips, and all the things. So there I go, rambling. I should have put ADHD in my title or description. Cursey words. I'll try not to curse. I never used to curse. We didn't. I didn't grow up in a household where people cursed. Like the first time I heard my mother say the F word, um, and I was like 17, my ears turned bright red, like they actually burned because I'd never heard that word come out of her mouth. What happened was, is she fell. She was doing some work at home stuff along with her other job, and she would uh, type out envelopes, and so she would like um, get envelopes ready for companies. And so she's really tiny, and so she got the big dictionaries when they were this big, the Webster dictionary, to sit on so she can reach and type and comfortably. And she didn't set it upright, and she fell off, and she was like F. And I was like sitting on the couch. I was like so speechless, and my ears started, and then I just started laughing at her because it was kind of comical. And then she got mad at me because but um, and my father didn't curse, and we just didn't hear, like, even though my family is very messy, you know, we got a lot of things happening. Um, I don't know. It's just not a cursy family on either side. And then, of course, when I was hanging out in the streets, everybody cursed, but I didn't curse. It just didn't feel like, you know. And then I had an ex who every single word out of his mouth was F. And I was like, oh my God, please, can you please stop? He didn't even realize he was doing it. But I find the older I get, and I don't know when I really started like cursing like a sailor. Uh, Maybe when I was working at the truck stop. I don't know. Lately, I just am like free flowing. So it just feels good. I just remember when George Carlin came out with the 7 words you can't say on TV, um, and that was a big thing. Oh, you know. Anyway, so of course I'm off track. But anyway, so this book I picked up. So it's this democracy in one book or less, how it works, why it doesn't, why fixing it is easier than you think. David Litt, Litt, and it's New York's best-selling author of Thanks, Obama. So I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's a snarky SOB. I don't know if he's on the good side of things or the bad side of things. Bill Bryson meets Thomas Frank. Bill Bryson was pretty funny. I was studying to do the Appalachian Trail, and he had a book. He wrote a book about it. It was hysterical. Bill Bryson meets Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank, Mrs. Frank. She was my Italian teacher. She hated me. Thomas Frank in this deeply insightful, unexpected, because I'm not Italian, not one drop of Italian in me, and she would think that I was and say, and I would be like, no, I don't have one iota of it, and it was confirmed when we did our DNA. We knew that. Thomas Frank in this deeply insightful, unexpectedly hilarious story of how politicians hijacked American democracy and how we can take it back. When did he write this? I've never even heard of it. Let's see, when did he write it? So he wrote, Thanks, Obama, my hopey changey White House years. Oh, maybe was he somebody that worked with Obama? Was on part of his staff? 2020 he wrote it. To Jackie, my daily reminder that good things happen. Okay, it's looking a little sweet here. All right. The democracy you live in today is different, completely different from the democracy you were born into. You probably don't realize just how radically your republic has been altered during your lifetime. Yet, more than any policy issue, political trend, or even the felon, I won't say his name, himself, our redesigned system of government is responsible for the peril America faces today. What explains the gap between the people, want and what our elected leaders do Oh, okay, it's a question. What explains the gap between what we the people want and what our elected officials leaders do? How can we fix our politics before it's too late? It's too late. And how can we truly understand the state of our democracy without wanting to crawl under a rock? That's what former Obama speechwriter David Litt set out to answer. Okay, all right. So that's all I needed to know. David Litt is the New York Times best-selling author of Thanks, Obama, My Hopey Changey White House Years. From 2011 to 2016, David wrote speeches for President Obama and was described as the comic muse for the president for his work on the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Since leaving the White House, Litt served as the head writer and producer for Funny or Die's office in Washington, with a focus on improving youth turnout in the 2018 election, and developed a sitcom based on his life in D.C. He frequently appears on CNN and MSNBC to discuss current events. How old is he? All right, well, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. Usually they give the birth date of the person, no more though. They used to. The birth date of the author. All righty. Hey, I just grabbed it. It looked like there were so many good books on there. So I'm going to read. Oh, you know what I made tonight? I made. It's a good thing you can't smell my breath because I ate whole garlic cloves, which I love. Um, Cannoli. So I made my macaroni. The is it fusilli? Oh, you know what? I was just thinking of something. Oh, pasta vajul. That's what I was thinking. Pasta vajul. That bean soup. Pasta vajuli. Pasta vajuli. Pasta vajuli. It's the pasta and beans, and it's the cannelli beans, not cannoli. Sorry, wrong food type. Um, or borlati, but this was the cannelli beans. So it's a hearty rustic soup or stew made with pasta, beans, and flavorful broth. They have sofrito in there. Oh, I didn't know they used sofrito in that. Onion, carrot, celery. Oh, I could have used my celery. Garlic and rosemary. Well, I didn't make it into a soup, and I didn't use the. They usually use the pasta bazool. I mean, that is the Italian American slang. Pasta bazool. I think it's bazooli, whatever. My Italian teacher would string me up. But the noodles or the macaroni that they use, the pasta that they use in it is, the little short fat. I'm trying to think of the name of the pasta that they use. Chopped onion, celery, carrots, and olive oil, blah, blah, blah. Simmer broth. But I use the curly pasta here. Curly pasta. Curly pasta. There's a name for it. There's a name for it. It is called, not that. Oh, oh yeah, what's on my feed? Should I do what's on my feed first and then quick read the Constitution? Because I was kind of wanting to get on Nerdy Addicts. They have trivia tonight. They already started it. But again, I'm questioning whether I want to stay on this channel because I think I have to investigate because I'm thinking he might be a felon supporter. And if he is, I can't do it. I can't do it. Oh, and Hegseth threatened the Pope. because the Pope said, God is not going to help someone with blood on their hands. Um, and he's been outspoken about. Oh, it's rotini. Is it rotini? Yes, rotini. So I had rotini pasta. Yeah. So the Pope has been speaking out against. He said something else today, and Higgs had the nerve. He got on there and threatened the Pope. How do you even like who? I'm gonna curse. Who the fuck does he think he is? Threatens Pope Leo. Pentagon. The Pentagon denies threatening the Vatican. Because here we go. Here we go. Gaslighting. Um, uh, the Hill. Pentagon denies threatening Vatican during January meeting with Holy. Oh, that's. I'm talking. He just did it. He just said something about it. Okay, here we go. This is yeah, but is this a new article? Yeah. So the Pentagon has denied threatening the Vatican during a late January meeting with the Holy Sees and Sees then envoy to US as Pope Leo the 14th has warned against the growing use of military action in recent months. Pentagon Policy Office head Elridge Colby met with Cardinal Christophe Pierre, the Vatican's former diplomat to the U.S. on January 22nd at the Pentagon, during which he warned the then envoy that the U.S. military has the power to do whatever it wants and that the church had better take its side. The free press, disgusting. And that he keeps quoting this Hegseth keeps quoting Bible verses, and he gets up there and makes these speeches, and he uses these full Bible um, verses, and it's just despicable and disgusting. Taking the Bible and making it like, see, this is what we're supposed to do, and we're like the chosen one. Get the fuck out of here. The outlet citing unnamed sources reported that a U.S. official raised the threat of Avignon papacy. Oh, that's right. I did hear. Is it Avignon papacy? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Referencing the period from 1309 to 1376 when France's King Philip IV captured the Pope and subsequent popes resided in Avignon instead of Rome. Oh, yeah, they were like, weren't they like uh, banished or something? Yeah, the Avignon. How do you even say that? Am I saying it right? It doesn't even matter. It's just crazy. It's craziness. Is this Julian Miguel? I don't know if you can hear it. When I was playing my stuff the other day on my, oh no, is my internet out? Hang on. I don't know if you can. Avignon. Avignon. Okay, so anyway, I don't know if you can hear that. I was listening the other day to a section of my one of my videos, and it sounds like you can't hear it. So next time I'll use my phone. But Avignon papacy. So, oh, and the other thing. Oh, I figured out what was going on with my glasses. I forgot to dim my MacBook screen. because that'll put that pink in my. Not that I don't even know. Nobody watches. I mean, people will pop in and pop out, but like I said yesterday, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. So I was talking about how did I get from pasta to the Pope? Anyway, let me finish my food story. So I got my pasta and I got my cannelli beans and I cooked the pasta and the beans. And then I got my fresh basil, my fresh rosemary, some thyme, my flake salt, garlic. Did I put red pepper in there? And then garlic powder, and then whole cloves of garlic. Cooked it all together. Um, some red pepper and a slice of my seed bread. It was delicious. Delicious. Delicious, nutritious. Oh, olive oil. So after I cooked the pasta until it was done, a little bit more, like I like it a little al dente, but I kind of overcooked it, but it wasn't mushy. And then the beans, you just need to. I just got a can of the cannelli beans, which they were organic, I think, and I just rinsed them off, threw them all in together, and just heated it all up. And I put olive oil in, and ate it with olive. And then when I went for a second helping, I threw butter in it and mixed it all together. I didn't make a broth, just a little bit of the oil base and stuff like that, where I could dip my bread in. I didn't really want a soup. I didn't want a pasta bajoule. I wanted. I didn't want a pasta bajoule soup stew. I wanted just the pasta bajoule. You know, it was delicious, absolutely scrumptious. Scrumptious. Now, of course, Cassie can't eat that stuff, so she gets like she had her green bean her breakfast. She does the toy brie blue buffalo, and has all the it, you know even though it's kibble, but it does have turmeric and it has the glu- um, nutrients that she needs. And so then I'll mix fresh vegetables in, fresh fruit, and all the things that she can eat of fresh food mixed in with that. For breakfast, usually she gets the French stroud style green beans, which she loves. And then when I made my pasta and stuff, she gets whole Greek yogurt, not like a big old scoop of it because we don't want any lactose intolerant stuff. But I mix that in with a little bit of water and stuff with her kibble, and she loves that. And then, of course, she had her freeze dried apples today, and then her mozzarella skim um, low moisture cheese. That's her favorite. So we had, so that's how we were blessed today. So let me go back. All right, so I'm done with that subject. Let me go back because I totally jumped around to. I wanted to just mention where'd it go? Where'd my story go? Oh, here. The whole like them threatening the Pope. So the outlet citing unnamed sources reported that a U.S. official raised the threat of Avignon papacy, referencing the period from 13. So I guess it's like a banishing or whatever. Pentagon slammed the report as grossly false and distorted, saying that Kobe had a substance, substantive, respectful, and professional meeting with Pierre and his team. During the cordial meeting, they discussed a range of topics, including issues of morality and foreign policy, the logic of the U.S. national security strategy, Europe, Africa, Latin America, and other topics. Pentagon said on the Pentagon said on social media. Cardinal Pierre expressed his appreciation for the outreach, and both sides look forward to continued open and respectful dialogue. Well, then how'd that get out? The U.S. ambassador to the Holy See, not SEA, SEE, Brian Birch, said he spoke with the cardinal on Thursday and that Pierre confirmed that recent reports of the meeting with Colby are fabrications that were just invented. Given the intelligence and seriousness of Mr. Colby, I was likewise not surprised when His Eminence acknowledged there were no threats of any kind in the meeting. Birch said in a post on in a post on Twitter, it was a frank and cordial meeting that took place 2 months ago. Threat of Avignon? None. When we disagree, we have done so with sincerity and respect. So where did that come out? Like I heard Heg say something nasty about the Pope. And then of course they go on, kissing the felon's ass, flat, fat, orange ass. Yeah, Catholic Americans. This is why Catholic Church is like plummeting. Catholic Americans resoundingly supported the felon in 2024. I believe it. And the president's administration has a positive relationship with the Vatican, which was strengthened when Vice President Vance attended the Pope Leo. Oh my God, he attended Pope Leo's inaugural mass last year. Oh my God, that is terrifying. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said in the third. Oh my God, that's terrifying because he was the last person to touch Pope Francis and meet with him, and then the Pope died, and he looked like a devil at that meeting. Oh God, why would they even let that man near the Pope? The president has done more than any of his predecessors to save the lives and resolve gold. God, get the F out of here with your stupid gaslighting bullshit. Hegseth did say something. I heard him say it. Pentagon threatens Vatican to take American side. Okay, so that's related to that. So so you have your so I hope Pope Leo straightens out because you do have a lot of Catholics that do support, you know, because if they blindly support the abuses in the Catholic Church, it's not a huge jump to go to the spelling. Um, and there's this nun on YouTube that made a comment, and she was going on and on about Netanyahu. Totally, uh, didn't say one word about the felon, not one. And because he's side by side with Netanyahu. And so I reminded her, because, and she looked like the typical nun that when I was growing up, and she just beat your ass as soon as look at you and be nasty. And I just put a comment in, and I'm like, yeah, let's not forget to mention the felon that's sitting in the White House right now. Oh, that pissed me off so much. And when we went to Catholic school for a brief period of time, I asked my father, I'm like, Dad, why are these nuns so like mean and terrifying? Because they were, and they're physical still back in the day, but our generation changed that shit up because we started fighting back. Um, and then my mother and my father were sitting there, and my father just looked at my mother and he goes, "Oh, well, they're just frustrated." And I was a kid. How old was I? 10, 11? I didn't know what he meant. Like, I'm like, frustrated about what? And then they like giggled. And it wasn't until I was older that I figured out what he was talking about. I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But still, they were just mean and nasty. There were only like maybe two nuns, Sister Mary and little Sister Anne, that were normal, sweet, that were in it for the right reasons. All the other nuns were disgusting, despicable witches. Ugh. Anyway, to get off topic again, I did. I probably should end it with how was I blessed today. I might do another how was I blessed today because I don't want to be negative, but I want to I want to use this platform to be outspoken, to say the things that people are saying, not all people, because I'm in an area where, you know, there's a lot of people who are like blinded by that. I don't know what. Oh well, I kind of do. You know, at the book club last night when I was talking about like Frederick Douglass and his time as slavery, and one of the participants was like, "Well, you know, you're making white people feel bad." No, we're not. No, we're not. Like um, those who are complicit and those who perpetrated and those who continue with the racism, yeah, good. They should feel bad, but I doubt that they do. Um, and then she started going a little bit about, well, there were people who were black who owned slaves and people in other, and I'm like, and before I could even finish, because she knew I was going to say it still doesn't make it right. And it's like, and almost like, so what's your point? Like, because some black people may have owned slaves, that it's okay. Like, don't pick us on us white people, don't pick us on. It's not, well, if you don't feel that way, don't, like it's just and so there was this one girl, she in the group, and she was like, she you could see it hurts to your soul what happened, and continues to happen. And she was like, it just hurts to my soul that um, that people, my people, like her race did this to other people. And I'm like, listen, it was wreckage. Like, it's generational trauma. And there were some women in that group that were older than me that, like, they were like, I just can't believe how mean the people in this country could be. And I'm like, really? Like, like, I'm like, it was built on this stuff. But anyway, but the one girl, I felt bad for her. And I'm like, listen, it was wreckage. It was wreckage for everybody, you know. And it just destroys. It, it was inhumane, and and yes, white people were affected traumatically by that too, by that as too, like, and brainwashed and trained and whatever, I mean, so, like, we're not out here blaming, like, my indigenous roots, my great grandmother. We're tribeless because our tribes were annihilated. My sister's trying to track down what tribe we're from, and we're trying to find the picture of my great grandmother and her traditional dress, so we can find out what tribe. And track down one of our grandfathers, one of our greats, was an escaped slave, and so there was enslavement on on that side of my family, and genocide on another side of my family, and then the Irish on my other side of the family, abject poverty, and then the English rule, and um, you know, I'm glad that Northern Ireland is the Republic of Ireland is separate and their own entity, and they broke out of that British rule, and that's where my family is from. But they had to fight it, and they stole, and they annihilated their language, their Gaelic. So the same thing, and there were Irish slaves and indentured servants, and my sister traced one of our greats aunts who was an indentured servant who was brought over to America, as an indentured servant. Now, you know, for the whites, and what's so sad and ironic is that there were Irish indentured servants that, you served the term, and then you got a piece of land. So you were freed, right? So you were in prison, but you worked the land, and then when you were done, you were given land, and then you were, um, that's it. And then they held slaves. So it's just like, just bad, and that's why a lot of en, ens enslaved people adopted the names of their Irish slaveholders because and they were Irish names, and then also they did presidents' names too, because they ripped their culture away from them and their whole identity away from them. And so it's generational trauma all the way through down the line to us, you know, um, and it took so much away from those of us who have the descendants and ancestors of all this trauma. And there was one woman in the meeting that she just like didn't want to hear it. Just didn't say a word, didn't engage in the conversation. And then the only thing she said at the end, she goes, "I know what building you live in. Do you live in that building?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And I'm like, "I thought you looked familiar." But yeah, it's because they watch the faux news. That's all they watch, and then they believe every word that's coming out, because now I guess the rhetoric must be, there were some black people who held slaves here in the U.S. Well, those black people that were able to get their own land, what their purpose was to keep families together. So that was the purpose of any kind of enslavement that they may have had, was to not separate families. So doesn't make it right, and but the main reason for that was to not break, because they were not property. They were trying to keep families together. So sometimes you got to make a deal with the devil in order to survive. So, but they latch on to that. Well, there were some black people who owned slaves. Yeah, well, dig a little deeper to find out why. Well, there's slavery. White people were enslaved. There was slavery. Blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, and it's like, and your point is, you just want to erase Black history and the foundation of this country. That's the point. You want to act like, oh, that wasn't a bad thing. They were good slave. You owned a fucking human being. You think that's good? And in the past, no, because it just is still happening. So I gotta stop because I'm ranting. It's 10 to 10 already, and I've been on for, I don't even know how long. Oh, there it is, 48 minutes. Okay, so what I want to do is, I think I left off at section 8. I told them too, I was reading the Constitution. I told you that, right? So, and I think eventually what I'm going to do is get help. And you can't always trust the AI, Chat GPT or Gemini, which I don't use, even Alexa, who, she doesn't know shit anymore. Um, but so I'm going to need like an assistant to help me understand what the F they're talking about in this. So we got to dig deep. But anyway, section 8. Ooh. All right. Let me make sure. Let me read from the top of page 8. Every order, resolution, or vote to which the concurrence of the Senate and the House of Representatives may be necessary, except on a question of adjournment, 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 I'm sorry, shall be presented to the President of the United States, and before the same shall take effect, shall be approved by him or being disapproved by him, shall be repassed by 2/3 of the Senate and House of Representatives according to the rules and limitations limitations prescribed in the case of a bill. Section 8. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. To borrow money on the credit of the United States, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States, to coin money, regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures, to provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States, to establish post offices and post roads, to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries, to constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court, to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations, to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water, to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years, to provide and maintain a navy, to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces, to provide for calling forth a militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. You know he's going to try and mess with this upcoming 2026 election, and he's laying the plan, laying the groundwork to say, "Oh, sorry, we got this going on, no elections," and then or just sabotage all the elections. He's putting everything in place. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers and the authorities of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress, to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square as may, by secession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings, and to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States or any department of officer thereof. Really not getting all that, but a little bit clearer. And I forgot who the authors of the Constitution. I'd like to do some research into them. So the very general was like one was for slavery, one was against slavery. So a balance, right? But we now know there's 39 signers of the Constitution. But I'm curious about the authors of it. I just thought all the people who signed it were all the people who like contributed and wrote it, but I don't know. We'll find out. Section 9. The, and I'm reading just 2 more pages. 1.5 pages. Okay, 2 more pages. Section 9, the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. No capitation, no capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. Note modified by Amendment 16. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. No preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another, nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties in another. So no tariffs in between states. Is that what that is? No money shall be drawn from the treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. No title of no kings, no princes, no princesses, no lords, and whatever else they have. And no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Didn't somebody just get a $1 billion aircraft from the Saudis or something like that? That they gifted this to the felon, but then it's going to cost $1 billion to make sure that it's all legit and it's not going to blow up, I guess, when he rides it. And then he gets it after he's done. Yeah. And wasn't that from the Saudi prince? I don't know. I could be wrong on who and where it came from, but it came from another nation. Just, whatsoever. Section 10, and then I'll end it there because then we're going to be on Article 2. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque, if I'm saying that right, and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder ex post facto law or law impairing the obligation of contracts or grant any title of nobility. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any impost or duties on imports or exports except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws, and the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports and exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States. All such laws shall be subject to revision and control, and they spell control, CONTROUL, of the Congress. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty or tonnage keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, into any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Imminent danger. Okay, so now we're getting into a little bit of some juicy stuff. But again, not understanding a lot of it. So break it down. And I wonder, like, I bet there's somebody on YouTube, I'm sure of it, that there's somebody on YouTube who is well versed in the Constitution and can actually, like, you know, page by page, paragraph by paragraph, explain what they actually mean in layman's term and plain English. Like, remember, that was Old English, so, or King's English, or whatever English. Um, so, context and, words. So, maybe I can find that person and maybe I could, do not a collab because, they probably wouldn't do a collab with me, but just find out if I can use their videos to kind of help us understand the Constitution. So, and that would have to come with me um, getting on to where I can utilize sharing tools, screen sharing tools, and all that other good fancy stuff. So, my YouTube feed. So, let me do this real quick because I can't do anything quick. I just can't. I just can't. Because there were a couple interesting things on YouTube. Um, okay, so Tennessee Brando, Trump lashes out. Ooh, I even hate saying his name. The felon lashes out at the Pope as war goes wrong. Oh, see? So he did say something. What did he say? He said something. And I think he probably did it in his live social. Oh, okay, he might be talking. When you read a headline, you say to yourself, well, that could possibly be satire. It doesn't have to be satire because the felon's world is like you're on a never ending movie of idiocracy. And he's talking about like this, but that was like a while ago. I thought, yeah, yeah, that's the article I just read. I thought that Hexet said something the other day. I swear he did. Um, yeah, he's calling out the president's war and just returning with threats. So he's threatening them. Say to yourself, I can't believe this is real. Just always remember it's the felon, it's real. Would simply say once again, sending all people of goodwill, asking all people of goodwill, this is the Pope, to search always for peace and nonviolence, to reject war, especially a war which many people have said is an unjust war, which is continuing to escalate. This is Pope Leo, and which is not resolving anything. In fact, we have a worldwide economic crisis, energy crisis, situation in the Middle East of great instability, which is only provoking more hatred throughout the world. So come back to the table. Let's talk. Let's look for solutions in a peaceful way. And let's remember, especially the innocent children, the elderly, the sick, so many people who have already become or will become victims of this continued warfare. To remind all that attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction that the human being is capable of. And we all want to work for peace. People want peace. I would invite the citizens of all the countries involved to contact the authorities, political leaders, congressmen, to ask them, tell them to work for peace and to reject war always. And that was Pope Leo. He was walking out. Um, yeah, he's no fan of organized. Either am I. I'm not a fan of organized religion, but I'm liking, yeah, regardless of what you think. My voice, I like Pope Leo and I liked Pope Francis, but the people, so he lashed out. Let's see, it would cause the felon to lash out, and that's because he's a lunatic, right? He's a satanic, yeah, he's satanic. So what does he do? He lashes out again. And when I saw the headline, I was just like, is this real? But it's him. So these things can always be real. Pentagon threatened, criticized. So relations between the US and the Catholic Church have not been the same since January when senior US defense officials shared an abrasive message with Vatican official days after Pope Leo, oh, that's right, delivered his State of the World speech under the Secretary of Defense of Police Elridge. Yes, so then he's going back to what I read. So when, because Pope Leo is just out there and he said, he just called it like it is, just like he did when this just recent, statement he made. So, but there are Catholics out there that are maggots. They're maggots. I see them every day, all day long. They're maggots. And that's why nobody's in their church. So, like I said, I've been church hopping, Episcopal, Protestant, and their masses, I'm not saying their services are packed full. I'm curious because I'm going to a Methodist service tomorrow night and Sunday, and I'm curious. Um, Churches that are full, I mean, unfortunately, are the televangelists, the what are they called? The big churches, you know what I'm talking about, um, mega churches. Uh, but people want unity. People want like freedom to be whatever. I'm gonna go off on another. I don't want to go off. So that was on one feed. I just happened to catch Tennessee Brando, but I'm telling you, oh, David Pakman show. He has on his they just filed for the felon's impeachment. So Representative John Larson introduces article of impeachment against Donald Trump, accusing him of abuses of power and constitutional violations. And he also filed uh, Amendment 25. I don't know who is Reverend John Larson. I think he's a Democrat. Uh, Yeah, so that's what David Pakman's talking about, but I didn't think he moved on it. Who's John Larson? Oh, he's Democrat. So yeah, I mean, Al Green, filed impeachment. It doesn't mean anything. But if they get people to sign into some other stuff and get this maniac, lunatic, Diablo devil out of that office, well, then, you just never know what you're going to get because then you get, you know, eyeliner guy. Oh, look, my Tai Chi Dr. Paul Lamb, I do follow the Tai Chi walking backwards. I need to get back into Tai Chi. I used to do Tai Chi and I really need to go back. I was watching Jolene Lunzer, rewatching some of the stuff I missed. I just watched the Chrome Project. Um, He's talking about he's kind of in a slump with his videos. Oh, the case of the wife that vanished in the Bahamas, and the husband saying she fell off the dinghy and he lost her and he had to row back to shore, and they arrested him because they don't believe him. And then the stepdaughter's coming forward saying that he's been violent. Boater missing, husband arrested. So Lynette Hooker, and they just arrested the husband in the Bahamas. So they're not buying the story that she fell overboard and he lost her. So And not only did she fall overboard, she had the key to the engine on their dinghy, and so then he had to row all the way back, and it took him hours. So, yeah, whatever. So now it's a recovery mission. They were looking to see if they could rescue her, but it's a recovery mission. And yeah, out to sea. I don't know how far you can go out with a dinghy, but anyway, let's see. Kempire is on. Caleb Flynn, he's the guy who said home invaders shot his wife and, spared him and the kids. So he's going to trial. Like now, he just got arrested and his trial date is already set. Because, speedy trial and, all the evidence that Ellie has gathered there, it takes a long time to go through all that. And I think what is um, he's banking on that they're not going to get it in time. Is this my hot chocolate? Oh, yeah. All right. I just got all hot chocolate in my teeth. But anyway, so he, his trial is set for next month or this month. I just don't want to see that I have all chocolate. Um, this month, I think, which would be just months. He just got arrested in February, I think. So speedy trial, and like his attorneys are like, they sort of don't want to wait around. They should just get to it. And if I guess the prosecution doesn't have the evidence together, well, then too bad, so sad. I guess. I don't know. So his family is in full support. I don't know about the wife's family, but his family is. Yeah, so the boater missing, Lynette Hooker, and they said she was a powerful swimmer. She had boat experience, but they were both drinkers. I think they were in their 50s and heavy drinkers and partiers and stuff. And you do risky things and risky behaviors, but I don't know how Bahamas justice works, but he's in jail. Kempire, he was talking about, I forget what he was talking about. Was he talking about uh, on set yesterday? No, he was talking about somebody else. His says K. Michelle's got them talking. Sierra Miller backlash. Oh, he was talking about, he might have been talking about Chile too. Um, Local weather. Father knows best. The Alien Files. It's Justice Served TV. What was I gonna talk about that I missed out on yesterday? I forgot. Something's off. They have Turtle Boy on their channel right now. I don't really like Turtle Boy, and neither does Rebecca, and neither does Mel. I mean, they don't like his behavior, but they're willing. I just don't like him. He's like a 14-year-old, uh, you know, testosterone driven. Like he's like a 14-year-old boy to me. He acts like a 14-year-old boy going through puberty. Um, so there's True Crime with the Sarge. They're talking about Gilgo Beast. Oh, they're bringing Rodney Harrison on. Good for them, because Ray Tierney did not mention, didn't even whisper his name. That was just so unprofessional. So he is True Crime with the Sarge is scheduled for the 12th at 2 p.m. They're going to have him on. Good for them. Good for them that they're bringing him on, because what a piece of shit, and why he did that. What did he do to him? So let's see. Blooming. Hopefully, I guess we're not getting a deep freeze tonight. Thank God, because all the blooms are coming out and they would have all died. They kept calling for this weather alert, and then I don't know, never happened. Yeah, I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, so I watched a little bit of Sinister with Josh Newman and Laura. Is it Laura Ingram? Um, so they were in the press pool there and the reporters. And what happened was, I told you there was an exchange between a family member and a reporter, but we couldn't hear it. What happened was is it was a guy from the Post, and he was asking a question, and he kept calling the girls sex workers, not victims, not young ladies, sex workers. And she was like, I'm telling you, some of those family members who refused to get up there and speak, they did it for a reason, because they're going to go after the police state. They're going to go after law enforcement for doing a shitty job and ignoring them. And they're going to have their say. And not at a press conference where there was 100 people there of all these different law enforcement. Just like I said, some of them had to go to the emergency room, I'm sure, for their broken arms, for patting themselves on the back, because it was all about them. No, it's not all about them. Yes, they did work, and some of them did hard work, but these families took, they never stopped fighting to get their loved ones out there. So he kept saying sex workers, and she screamed at him to stop using that. Stop saying that about the girls. Stop saying it. Stop calling them sex workers. And went off on him. Good for her. Good for her. I knew it was something like, you know, but yeah, they talked about that. Yeah. Is that their final description of life on earth? A sex worker who was brutally murdered and tortured by a maniac? You know, nobody's calling him a demonic monster. You know, they're calling him by his name. um, maybe Ray Turney might say the defendant or the murderer, but they're calling him. And then they get to the victims and they say sex workers. And then that one comment to me in there, well, they mention them. Yeah, so does that make it all right? Like, you took less than a second to mention their names, and then you just go on and on and on and on about yourself, and then call this monster by name. Ridiculous. People just sometimes they just don't get it. They just don't get it. So who was on? Oh, so Kelly Clarkson. See, I switched. Our Best Way Along by Billy Ray Cyrus and Noah Cyrus. Oh. So I guess they're on speaking terms again. So I guess one of the kids is speaking to Billy Ray. Um, so relaxing doodle art that melts away stress. Oh, Kate Field. I probably am subscribed to her. Holy Schmidt is in the feed. Oh, graphic evidence presented by FBI and murdered 7-year-old kid. Oh, God. I can't with babies and children. I just can't even. I just can't even. Bats in the house. In Tampa Bay home as maternity season begins. We had bats in the building that I lived in, and I guess it was a nest or something somewhere, but I mean, like in the basement or something somewhere. And a couple of times, one would get out and just hang, like there was a drop ceiling in the hallway, and just hang. And it was always right in front of my door. And then just hang there and mind its own business. And so what I did one night is I just propped the door open so it could get out. And it got out. 2 or 3 times that happened. And then when the new people took over the building I was at, oh, they were just evil devils. It got into my wreath and it was hanging. I have a video of it. because every time I opened my door, I was hearing like this hissing sound. And I'm like, what is that noise? And even the dogs, they were just like, what the heck is that? And so I closed it and I thought it was something wrong with the door. And I open it and I hear this hissing sound. And then I'm like, I just don't even know what that is. And then I opened it and looked and I could see the bat hanging in, all nestled up in, hanging upside down. So I did. He let me take a videotape. I took a videotape of him. I videotaped him and stuff. And then I shut the door and then I kind of knocked on the door on the back of it. And of course, it disturbed him and it got out and then it hung upside down right in front of my door. Um, but um, then I called maintenance because I was afraid it wasn't getting out. And what did they do? But they sent this. This was the new company because Mike, he would not. He would have never done that. He would have gotten it out humanely, and they just killed this. It was horrible. I'm like, oh my god, I wish I never would have called. It was just. At first, I didn't know what was going on. And, it's just horrible. And then I guess one of the cleaning, we used to have cleaning, housekeeping come in to do the halls and stuff like that. And she was down in that basement area and she said it's out of control down in that one section, which is kind of away from everything. And so I guess they must have come in and exterminated it. It's just, ugh, whatever. I don't know. Maybe I was too far from the speaker. Maybe you didn't hear that. Terrible stuff. Oof. Um, oh, canceling 4th of July. Funding uncertain grows for Tampa's historic Jackson House. Okay. Um, oh, Melania. Melania did a little, like, I don't know, from the White House as if she was like the president, came out and made some kind of announcement, stood at a podium with the presidential seal saying that she was never friends with Epstein and um, Ghislaine, whatever her name is, Ghislaine, ah, I can't say her name. Um, Never friends, but then they have like emails of like, whatever the communication was, love Melania, you know. She was like, I was never friends and I did not meet my husband through Epstein. Meanwhile, there's pictures of them all hanging out, at these parties and stuff. And there's text messages or whatever. But she got out there and she said, we need to have a hearing, blah, 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 whatever she was saying, like ordering a hearing for the survivors to come in. I don't even know what she was saying, but it was ridiculous. And then she promoted her book. So I guess that was the point. You can read in my book and see it all in my book. Whatever. She's an idiot. Okay. Nonprofit gives back. Gifted a new roof. That's in Florida. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So, Athenia Strand. That is the little girl that the FedEx driver murdered. And he just has the balls just to go through with it. Just unbelievable. Oh, no, wait a minute. No, he didn't. He pled guilty. That's right. And what they had to do, I forgot about that. He pled guilty, but now they're in the sentencing. They're in the sentencing phase, right? I guess he thought that they wouldn't bring out the gory details, but they're bringing out the gory details, right? In-law massacre. Shelby Neely sentencing. What is this? I never heard of that. I think he did. I forget. penalty phase, so they still have the jurors still on it because they have to decide between life and death. And I guess maybe he thought if he just pled that they were just gonna like decide, but no, I guess they must be bringing out good. I mean, not good because it's horrific for the families, but just so everybody knows what he did and it's out there. So when he goes, where he goes. So this is the habituation room with Francesca Florentini. She used to be on the Young Turks. Um, her title is Melania's Epstein Denial and the Clusterfuck of California's governor's race. Oh, I have no idea about that race. The breakdown with Luke and Cord Cutters News. So, everybody's doing these collabs, so they're two channels together. The Cord Cutters News is who I follow. Newspapers are in trouble, but one billionaire thinks he can save them. Okay. You think so? I still read papers. Total sham. Trump exposed as fraud. Crackdown backfires. That's Katie Fang. I cannot say his name, and I keep saying it while I'm reading this stuff. Not saying it anymore. Felon claiming victory. Of course he is. Of course he is. Creepy encounters that are terrifying. I picked up a serial killer and his victim without knowing. Oh my God. This is Call Me Chris too. So this is oh my God, she's funny. I'll have to watch that. That's a new one. So Call Me Chris 2. This is where she, the channel where she reads her the Reddits, I think. Kelly Clarkson show. All right. I think that's it. Okay, David Pakman. Felon press secretary Miss Barbie does not like facts. Of course she don't. None of them do. Not a one. Not a one. Okay, I gotta watch that. All right, well, I think that's it. I think I've been on long enough, longer than I wanted to be on. I mean, I wanted to make it a short one, but I apparently I cannot. Apparently, I could just ramble on for a really long time, for a long time. So, but I think I covered everything that's in my title. If I didn't, then I will change my title. So I read a few pages of the Constitution. I did the YouTube feed. I think I did plenty of rambling. I didn't put curse words in there though. But anyway, and triggers because some of this stuff. And then I talked about extra stuff. And I don't know. Once I get all this kind of like heavy stuff out of my system that I would like to like talk about, get off my chest. Maybe I'll just lighten it up. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with the flow. Just gonna go with the flow of turning on the camera and talking, and then also, um, just setting up my videos or lives through another platform where I can share screens and stuff like that and make it a little bit more interesting than me just running my mouth nonstop and fidgeting. So at least if I share a screen and I am talking about what's on screen or clips or whatever, I just can make myself little so you can't really see me fidgeting. And then I can fidget all I want. But I'm still gonna fidget all I want. Anyway, I'm just rambling. Happy Thursday. And my Outlander show that's on at midnight. So I'll be up. I'll be up. Tomorrow, I'm going to take a neighbor shopping. Got to pick some stuff up for Cassie. And then I'm going to go with my neighbor to this one is Protestant or Methodist. Is there a difference between Methodist and Protestant? Are they the same? I don't know. Like I just know Protestant. I know my grandmother, like two of my grandmothers were Protestant. I think. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm gonna go to their service tomorrow night, and I'm gonna try. I'm gonna really try and make it to the Sunday service. We're gonna try out some other churches around town because I guess she's like me. I'm gonna do some church hopping, um, and she's been to a couple of churches that I have yet to visit. So it's like around here. It's like in New York, we have a bagel shop, a bagel store on every street, pretty much. And in the area I'm in, there's like a church on every street. I feel like I'm in the deep south. Um, Lots of churches and stuff. And there's not enough people going. I don't even know how they survive, but they are. I mean, it's not all of them because, one closed, and I think another one's getting ready to close because um, I don't ever see anybody. I think they actually rented out to the courthouse, like the parking lot in one of their buildings. So they don't even have a pastor. They have service, but and I don't know what denomination it is. So I don't know. It makes me kind of feel bad because it's supposed to be a place community, and then when you alienate people with your zealousy of and then using what the scriptures might have been like. I always looked at it like if you look at it the right way, the Bible was the first ever self-help book. If you can look at it and take the good from it, but people don't do that, especially the Catholics, man. It was like all hell and damnation and the wrath of God and um, the fear of God. That's what was drilled into us in the Roman Catholic Church, and it still is in a sense. And they don't like. I attended St. Augustine Church in Florida, and Father Joe, he was from New York. Was he from the Bronx? I think he was from the Bronx. And I absolutely see, and that was like when I was going, like I said, our generation shifted the way they were treating us, because they became fearful of us instead of the other way around because we spoke out because our few years older than us taught us, and then family members too. But so there was a shift in power. Not that we were all powerful, but we you know they couldn't get away with their fear tactics, and then younger priests were coming in that were in the generation of the generation just like like when I was in grade school and the teenagers, so the few years older than us. So and he came in, and there was a shift with how he treated, so it started shifting. So Father Joe would have been the generation or the or the group of people who were just a few years above me. So, and that's how he ran this church. And when I went to confession one time, and it was so different than growing up. And he was so like he would read the scriptures and stuff and do the whole ritual thing, but he always incorporated normal everyday life into it. Like he didn't stick to the strictly to the book, and he just really, and it was a that was packed full always, and it was a big grand church. There was another church in another area of Florida I lived in, same kind of thing. And then who else? Um, oh, yeah, in Brooklyn. So, like I said, there was a shift. So so I went to Catholic school in the 60s, 70s, right? And then in the 90s, I mean, the shift had really taken place. So one day I went to confession, and I hadn't been to confession in a long time. And I went, and the priest was like, do you want, because it was always, you went into the confessional and it was always the screen, so you really couldn't know who it was, priest and confessor, but you kind of knew, but it was always this like shield, right? And then some of the priests would come out and look and see who it was. Ew, it was terrible. But this, now what they had is, do you want face to face where, it was completely open? Do you want the screen and anonymity, or do you want like full on, like seated next to each other? Like you just come out from behind, he would come out from behind the partition and you could sit face to face. So there were three ways you can have it. I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, I guess, I mean, um, I don't remember which one I took, but I did a face to face. I don't think I did the like knee to knee thing. I think I just did the whole where I could see him clearly, and it was like I was in a counseling session because they did create Catholic Charities, which was counseling, but and that's actually the office that I found. It was a Catholic Charities had given up that office in the building, and that's where I found an office for who I work with. But anyway, but it was like totally like a counseling session. And it was all Sins Day or whatever the day is, where all Confessions Day. So people were going to confession all day long. It was open all day. And so it was a long line. Brooklyn was a long line. And I was in there for so long, and he didn't rush me. And, it'd been years since I'd been, so I had a lot to talk about. But he didn't rush me, he didn't judge me. In fact, it was just such a unique different experience. And then, of course, he gave me my penance. You go and say your penance and stuff. But I'll never forget that. And I was like, wow, that was. So, how old would I have been in my 30s, maybe? Uh, yeah, in my 30s. And I was like, it was like so shocking that it went that way and it changed that way. But not all churches do that. I have yet to go to the church, the Catholic Church hears confession. I would like to just to see. But in the Episcopal Church, you do your confession during service. You're doing your confessional penance before the Eucharist, before communion. So it's like everybody's like forgiven of their sins, so now you can take communion. They don't do that in the Catholic Church. You had to go confession and all the other things and stuff. And but I'm gonna go to, and you can make appointments here to get confessions, which I don't remember if you could before. Maybe you could, but so I'm gonna try the confessional here and see how they do. But they seem very disconnected from the parishioners. Like they don't greet you when you walk in. Like they're very stoic, just like it used to be, very stoic. But the break from it, like some of the priests and stuff, they broke from it and they were more open and, inviting. But the main thing was very stoic. So I'm new coming in, and they didn't like, there was no like connection and no reaching out, no hello, even when I left. And, um, you know, people weren't like talking to each other or talking to the other parishioners or talking to the priest, and um, and it was very just sterile and remote and not Yeah, just like the old style Catholic church, and that's where you're losing people. You go to the Episcopal church, and everybody's welcoming to you, and the pastors and they they notice you right away if you're new, and they greet everybody with hugs if you want a hug, and they talk to you, and they connect with you. And when they give their sermons, they're connecting with you, and they're looking at you eye to eye, and they're talking to you as you're leaving, greeting you as you're coming in, like very warm um, feeling. And so far, the other churches that I've gone to have been that way, not the Catholic Church. Very cold and distant. Maybe I'll send them an email. I think I will send them an email. Um, or maybe I'll just say it during confession, and then I'll send them an email, because you're gonna die. Like, you're already like gone. There's like nobody at your service, and nobody's connecting, and there's no warmth. So Jesus would be like, I'm going over to the other place, man, because everybody's connecting and hanging out and doing all the things. You people are just like, you know. So I'm going to say something. Do they not understand, you know, that how are you going to survive? Like, your parishioners are not going to be around for much longer, and then that's all you got, because I don't see any young people there. No young people. Oh, at the other churches, yeah, young people, families, um, you know, all ages. At the Catholic, mostly people in their 80s. So, and they're going to be gone soon, and then that's going to be that. It's a shame. It really is. I hate to see that happen. I really wish they would have gotten into the 21st century and progressed. And Pope Leo, I think he's moving that way, but a lot of them are in America. I mean, he might be able to do something worldwide, but here in America, like thick-headed, whatever. I don't want to go into it. But anyway, I am going to get off here, and Miss Cassie has to go, and then I'm going to watch my other shows, and then my Outlander comes on. But anybody who pops in, thanks for listening. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put, because my live, and I guess I could do it in my description too, but I wanted to put up the woofing um, link, because my chat replayed it and didn't play. So I'm going to put that up. That should work. Um, and then I'll put a description in there for you guys to check it out if you pop in. Let's put a description. I don't know how much I can get in there of that. Let's see. I can put as much as I want. Oops. Is that it? www.say.org. Let's see. Because anybody interested in doing something interesting and helpful, this is like the best. And you got to do your research, and you have to, make sure you're understanding what the program's about, and try and find a good match, because, it's not always a good experience. There have been, there have been not so great experiences, but if you get the right um, farm, I'm trying to, like, thing is blah 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 sustainable. Here we go, right here. I'll take this and move it to a next one. Um, let's do this. It's like the AmeriCorps, or the Peace Corps. If you get into the right, um, if you find your right people, you would have the best experience of your life. Let's go here. So now this is the international, because that's where it actually started internationally. So this is internationally. I mean, you can get to this website. I'm just trying to find a new sentence here. Um, that's the .net. Um, Worldwide Opportunities in Organic Farms. So that's I think this is the www.net. And that 132 countries. Something if somebody sees this and they're interested in it, to check it out. And I think you'll be able to see it in my chat replay. I suppose next time I'll do is I'll put it in with um, I'll put it in with in my description. And I might still do that. I might still put it in the description, but yeah. So I'll just put a little note. Hello, anyone who visits. Um, Below is information about wolfing. Oops, spell it right. Wolfing. Talks about it. You learn about sustainability. It's just a really wonderful experience. Now, how do I pin a comment? Pin. There we go. Message pinned. So it should be at top, right? Yes, it should be at top. But anyway, just something that you guys might be interested in, for those of you who, if anybody pops in. One day I'm going to have an audience. Just a few people would be fine with me. I'll find my niche, my niche, my gimmick. Like, for those of you who know Gypsy Rose Lee, you got to have a gimmick. Um, and I think I will. I'm just kind of, feeling my way through, and apparently I'm comfortable in front of the camera no matter how I look. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm sure I have offended people, and I mean that's just the nature of its life. Everybody will be offended by everybody or everything. Someone, somewhere, somehow will be offended. And I'm not out here to hurt anybody's feelings and stuff. I'm speaking my mind. It's my opinion. Um, you know, and you have a right to your opinion. You could express that. And if I didn't like it or it offended me, I would move on. But you have every right to lay it out there, lay it all out, and you know there will be those who like it, and there will be those who don't, and then there will be those who will be like, oh, I kind of like that, and let me think about that. But anyway, I'm rambling. I gotta go. Um, and I wanted to finish my hot chocolate. I might have to reheat it. I forgot I had it there. All right. Good night. End stream. End stream. Good night.